We lie. I kind of like this background music, but it won't last forever.
No.
All the good things won't last forever, but it's good for now. So, what do we got? We got our t-shirts. Oh, I gotta stand back. Hold on. Hold on, hold on. If you want a t-shirt, there is not that link. This one. Go to the Coffee Sketch Podcast shop. We have t-shirts, mugs, and coffee. We now have Coffee Sketch coffee, which I do have an example of right here. So
From our good friends at Ruthless.
You know, we should do this. This is the live pre-show.
It's the green room. We're in the green room.
And we have the collab roast. We have. I'm gonna read off some of the notes, and so and then I'm gonna do this again when we do our little episode.
Okay. For fun. This is the practice. This is the practice round.
So it's a light medium roast from Brazil Cerrado. It's a natural process. All these things I really don't understand. That's why I have my friend Sean at Rootless Coffee.
I'm telling you that there's a coffee festival in our future, and like some sommelier kind of thing going on. So yeah.
And okay, well, we there's always time to learn. So there's a natural process. The elevation is 1200 MASL. The taste, this is probably the more relevant material here. The tasting notes: hazelnut and rich milk chocolate, granola and raisin. Interesting.
The hazelnut and the chocolate notes. You had me there.
Granola. Oh yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Well. So I have a box full, and Jamie does not have a box full.
Not yet.
So we need to send some to Jamie. So I'm not going to crack it open just yet. But in good architectural fashion, there's nice pictographs for recommended brewing. So I think that's your fancy espresso machine. There's Mr. Coffee for Jamie. There's French press for Kurt. And then there's, I think, pour over for those that have the equipment. And break free from boring, people. I like that little saying, break free from boring. We need something like that, Jamie.
We need a tag.
Gotta get with the times.
Get a tagline.
What's our tagline? We need to work on that, brainstorm.
We'll work on the tagline for shirt number 2.
Ooh, t-shirt. Can it be like up on the sleeve or something?
This is not a kit. It's not a soccer kit where we start putting like Apple logos and stuff on it, but
it should be. Well, we might have to just generate custom coffee sketch kits.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
So there's a couple things before. I don't think we need to put this into the actual show, but some part of this will have to come up in the future. So as you know, I'm preparing an application for the College of Fellows for AIA. I just had my meeting with the Michigan Fellows last week, and they're all pretty excited, and they're interested in this podcast.
Are they listening to the podcast? I mean, not by listening. I mean, like subscribing. Like is more what I'm getting at.
Right. Well, they are aware. So now what I need to do is make them more aware by sending them some episode links, because they're of a generation that aren't as internet tech savvy, let's just say. So we need to catch them up a bit
Just
in all
cue 'em-
positive.
yeah, queue them up with that very direct link. So
I think I want to share I think the first one I want to share is the Evelyn episode, because
Yeah.
they're all pretty stoked on that. And so here's the behind the scenes suggestion to Jamie now is that we start curating a little bit of this year's episodes toward some specific material that will boost my application. And that was
this
the
is
suggestion. This is
the friends helping friends thing. Yes.
Yeah, for friends making friends fellows. I like that. Friends become fellows.
Mm-hmm.
So well, part of my homework is I have to categorize all of our episodes, which is going to be fun. So that's going to be homework I do that you won't have to do when you begin your application. And I kind of suggest you start now as well. And we start just,
Well, I mean, especially
call it?
since Ed Vance stopped us on the street after lunch and was
That's a
like,
good one.
"When are you making the coffee table book?" So
Yeah, coffee sketch book, and he will help you publish it.
yeah.
So
I gotta work on the themes, and so I think as you're categorizing, it will be a group effort because I've already started, the book notes on the book.
Oh,
so
yeah, cool. Well, yeah, that's kind of the homework, and it's not a bad idea as far as curating a series of episodes upcoming. So I'll have to think about, because they're gonna have to speak to. We're gonna find little gaps, right, in the 121 episodes we've done, because this is now the recording for 122, and then where we see a little bit of a missing link, we're gonna fill those links or connect those dots and chains. And then there's a couple of aspects of my application that I think we'll have to expand on. And so we'll find a way to, fit that in. So,
I don't know what that. Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not gonna make. You lost me there. But
coffee sketch magic.
Okay.
Well, we have to. They don't exist yet, so we need to then create more episodes.
Gotcha.
So it's going to be fun. It's a interesting way to take something that, in my mind, has seemingly been somewhat, I don't want to say random, but loosely scripted adventure, and now put a little bit of a bumper or rails on it. You know what I mean? Does it make sense?
Yes.
Put it on a particular track for a season or half a season. I don't know. We'll have to figure out maybe it's just a series. We'll do because the fellows aren't going to listen to every single episode that we. Well, maybe they will. Who knows? We'll see what happens, but
we can get some new listeners, is what you're saying. So at the end of the day,
is the thread that kind of weaves it all together in the biggest picture, right? Takes all the discrete elements and sort of creates the tapestry. Let's use that language, right? The analogies just keep coming. The sun's out. I left the blinds open because I thought it was going to rain pretty good, and now all I see is sun on the deck. So
you have a nice glow about you. So nice halo there. So
power. I've tipped the camera so that you can see the t-shirt, so it's a little skewed, but it might be causing the glare. I'll try and stand in the middle. in front. Anyway, good thing this is the pre-show.
Yeah. It's like a million degrees here, so I don't know, like.
Well, it's not a million. It's one less than a million here, but it's humid. It's ready to rain. So, well, I'll stop staring at the outside. You know, like it won't rain if I keep looking out the window, right?
Right. Only if you like start to like get out some tools and go out there, then it will start to rain.
If I get on a ladder,
Yes.
start holding up.
Weather vane, like a weather vane.
Go fishing. Hold my fishing pole up there. I had to clean my gutter very specifically to make sure that my rain barrel filled up, or fills up more efficiently. I have this maple tree in the back, and my gutter is full of maple seeds, the little whirlybirds. Just insane amount of, yeah. So, all right, well, there's the mileage is ran out on all this
your brain just like went. I could just like see it. I could literally see it, like just go like to
like a bloop.
Yeah.
Well, I get to edit however I see fit then. Replace. Can I be replaced?
No.
Am I gonna get replaced?
No.
So are we gonna pitch right into our intro and start talking a little bit about what the people have been missing for a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I know, because we've been kind of both been traveling. So yeah, let's
conference season.
Yeah, so this will be 122 is going to be a short one, but we're going to do a second episode right after it. So
right, 123. I wonder if I can. I think I can edit. Yeah, I'll edit the title when it becomes time. You know, it feels good to tick the title up one episode.
Yes. Oh yeah. The numbers mean something to someone somewhere.
There's meaning, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And
well, so was that whole thing about the fellow thing? Was that to like add extra pressure to this episode? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, because I would no, not this one. Maybe future ones. I have to create. So I have to figure out what they need to sound, what they need to be. We don't know.
Oh God, you're not gonna give me a script, are you?
No scripts. No.
Oh, okay.
It would be topics though. We'll have to figure out some topics. You know. I mean, anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Okay.
We still got. We're waiting. Well, I'm waiting until next year.
Yeah.
Because I'm really looking forward to 2025.
So could we do it together? Would that be fun?
Yeah. I mean, that's the idea, right?
Okay.
I said that you should do it too.
Oh, okay. And like really, and like give the fellows then they really listen to the podcast.
Yeah. Get the book. Well, we have a friend that's a fellow that's also got a podcast. That's also president of AIA.
I know, we're going to talk about it in a minute. Don't give it all away.
All right, well, in that case, I can't keep waiting, so I have to hit the intro.
Okay, hit the intro.
I'm gonna I'll dance in the background while that intro's going. Hey, Jamie. How's it going?
Good to see you. Everything's good.
Aside from the weather, I hear.
Yes. It's like Texas is like, like a spot on the sun right now, it feels like. So
Ugh. Is that normal or is that normal climate change?
I
normal.
think it's normal. Climate change is normal. It's new normal.
Yeah,
Um,
what we call now is the new normal.
it is the new normal. So yes, we are
So
going to have a series of like unforgiving, unrelenting 100-degree days for the foreseeable future.
and that probably includes no rain.
Yeah. It's more like maybe a thunderstorm. And so you get like that little tiny bit of rain,
Uh,
maybe.
it's the
I know.
sauna effect.
Yeah, oh, yeah, totally. Sauna effect. Absolutely. I was doing like a walking tour this past week, and it was definitely the sauna effect in in every way, shape, or form.
Oof. Oof. Well, we'll have to talk
It
about.
would have been better to be wearing like our very classic tee. Yes.
Well, it's a black T-shirt though.
Yeah.
It's a draw heat.
You
Only
you
a little
have
bit of.
you have hung around me long enough to know that I do wear a lot of black, right?
Yes, I know. Yeah. Well, we were together first time in years a couple weeks ago at the AIA National Conference on
Yes.
Architecture, and so yeah, Jamie's wardrobe is quite simple.
Thanks for putting it, in very polite terms for me. Yes.
Well, I mean, you never had to ask me for advice on an
This
outfit,
one or that one. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
conference outfit.
Right.
Oh, it was like vice versa. No, I had prepared. I actually asked. I prepped with Danielle and had her give me some advice. I unfortunately had to be very selective on some of the outfits because of some fantastic, like let's just call it pandemic weight gain. that's that's eliminated half my closet. But we don't need to talk about
We,
that.
we don't need we don't need to go down that rabbit hole. No. Sorry.
That's a road too far.
Yeah.
So
But it was fabulous seeing you. I mean, and spending some days in San Francisco with you and lots of friends.
yeah, that's great.
And we ate well and got to see, and even got to see a whole lot more of the city because of our good friend Tyler
Yeah,
in
shout
San
out to
Francisco
Tyler.
as well. Yeah. So
Free shout outs because I mean he was generous enough to drive us around quite a bit for some sightseeing and some great food in Chinatown and lunch. I mean, yeah, it was fantastic. It was a very exciting. I mean, in a nutshell, which is hard to capture a whole conference in a nutshell, but the it was just fun to like feel like we were. I don't say back to normal. I don't want go down that road again, but the idea of just kind of doing what we like doing, I guess, in architecture and kind of meeting up in a conference and then also seeing the host city, you know,
yeah, I mean,
with a little excitement.
really seeing the host city this year for sure. In a variety of different ways. I think which we'll try and talk about in the next couple episodes. So we were talking about it in the green room before the show before the show, because we do live stream these antics that we were purveying here. In addition to the coffee set shirts and merch, and coffee.
That's
There
right.
is coffee. I hear there's coffee, Kurt.
That's right. Right. You want proof? You want proof? Look, here's the proof. Wait, I gotta shake it near the microphone. It's in case the noise cancellation doesn't want to take it out. Yes, we have our Coffee Sketch podcast. It is up on the link down here, Coffee Sketch Podcast Shop at Ko-fi, ko-fi.com. Just follow the link, or it's in the show notes. It's been in the show notes.
And it's also going to be part of the, because it's a Rootless collaboration.
Yes.
Rootless also does a variety of different collaborations. Not too many. They are definitely selective about them, but we've been good friends of theirs. Now, I will say, myself included, never met them, but Sean there has been really great with Kurt in Flint, and yeah, so we're really really darn excited to have that and share it with everybody.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm so excited. I have 24 bags in this first batch, and I still haven't opened it yet because I got to get some over to Jamie.
Yeah, we're gonna do a reveal like live reveal. Yeah.
At some point,
Hazelnut and chocolate notes.
oh yeah, oh that's right. I forgot. I was gonna read these notes real quick. Um, so it's a light medium roast from Brazil, and yeah, the flavors here we profiles are hazelnut, rich milk chocolate, granola, and raisin, which are gonna be interesting. I'm really excited now. Ooh, I can smell. I can get a little smell through the little thing in there.
Yeah, this is like the scratch and sniff episode.
Yeah,
So
it's pretty good actually. I could smell the hazelnut and chocolate flavoring, but yeah, we'll see. Sorry, now I'm getting way off the beaten path here.
so our show has
But
sound effects. In addition to
visual
Charlie's.
aids,
Yeah,
sound
in
effects.
addition to Charlie's just good little intros and outros for us. So
So we did say that this is going to be a short episode, a little tiny recap of a piece of the conference, and then we're gonna try and we're also being recording a second episode because you can't just capture the conference in one beat. Um, and we are also, speaking of the conference, is we're also going to be recording with our good friends at Archispeak podcast, a collaborative episode.
they've got a big milestone coming up. I mean,
Yeah.
we spent a lot of time with them in the conference, and that was fun. There's some photo bombing, that Kurt. I've discovered Kurt does really, some fun photography tricks to photobomb some individuals and sort of capture them all in one. But yes, they have their episode 300 coming up, and so we will be collaborating with them on that, and that'll be super fun
It's quite an honor
and an honor. Yeah,
to
absolutely.
be the 300th, or be on for the three, because they don't often interview people or do something like this. So this will be a little special, for both of us, and for me. I mean, they're one of the first. I think they are well. I can't remember now, but there's no evidence, of the first podcast audio, uh, architecture related podcast that I listened to. And going back to, I couldn't even tell you. It's got to be, I was probably a listener since under 100 episodes, from like 50 years. I don't know. It's, yeah, 300. They've been doing it a long time.
Oh yeah.
So
And
it'll be
there's some
fun.
sketching involved, so I'm hoping that some of that I did see like a post pop up from them, sort of suggesting that somebody might have been looking through some of their old sketchbooks, and so I was getting excited. So I don't want to say any more.
Yep. Yep. We'll
We're going to
save
get there.
save it.
Yes, save it.
And that will be coming up soon. And then what was the other thing? Oh yeah, I guess that's all the the it's been a lot that has gone on in the past couple of weeks that I'm like, oh, let's recap everything right now. No. So we're gonna focus on a little piece of the tail end of the conference for this little conversation. But did we first want to talk about
Well, the
coffee?
big we want to definitely talk about the biggest news from the conference. That like
Oh,
that Yeah, definitely want to drop that in
so
here.
do we want to do that before or after we talk about our
Our
coffee
coffee.
of the day?
Oh, okay. I mean, if we're gonna go there too, that would be awesome. Yes. So my I've got the
Ooh,
cuvee the West Pole, an Austin original, um, and it's got kind of a smoky flavor. Um, so it's a little bit on the more medium roast, but it's I'm loving it. Yeah, it's good.
Cool. That's
And
a
yourself?
that's a new one. The West Pole. That's a new one that I haven't had seen you have. I am actually the fun part about buying a bulk order of branded coffee is that I did get a free sample.
Ah,
It did come with something extra, and there was a small unlabeled bag of I don't know, I forget what the Rootless guys are doing, if it's going to be something coming out, but it was a Burundi origin roast. I think it's a little. I don't have the bag anymore. I think it's already gone, and so I don't know. I mean, it had no notes on it anyway. So I mean, it's like literally unlabeled. It was pretty cool. It's like one of those like stealthy small. It was a small bag.
small batch. Yep,
So it's
yep,
a
yep.
it's a very it felt very. I mean, Jamie would have loved it because it's all black. You know, fits his wardrobe quite well.
Yeah, yep.
But the yeah, it's a Burundi blend. It was very good. It's now gone, and so now I have to get this coffee sketch podcast over to Jamie so that I can hurry up and drink some of that. But yeah, so that's what I got going on. And so now the big news. Do you want to talk about the big news?
The big news is the person that we learned in episode 117 who doesn't drink coffee, um, but who we are both big fans of, and very proud of, and excited for. Part of the AIA's national conference on architecture and design, and it's the biggest one on architecture and design in the country. Um, Part of it is there's some business sessions. So, our member organization is about 96,000 architects and allied professionals, and others, in kind of our, lovers of architecture, and professionals in the architecture field. So, as a member organization, you have different leadership categories and people who are kind of leading the organization in strategic dimensions, and just there's a lot that goes on, and a lot of it's in parallel, but um, the leadership is led, and the board of directors is led by the AIA national president, and so they come into office as sort of first vice president, president elect for a year, and then they transition up the following year to AIA president. And so our friend Evelyn was elected in San Francisco, and we are just super excited.
If I had little sound effect buttons for the, like
Yeah, that's
cheers, horns, things,
I'm looking for that on the keyboard.
I would
So
be blasting that button, right now. But yeah, we're excited. Yeah, we were happy to have Evelyn on recently on episode 117. Although we were not allowed to talk at all about the campaign. Uh, and
which was
so
funny because people said they listened to that episode and they're like, they were fully expecting us to go into it and that we never did, and they're like, did you guys know she was running for like office? It's like, no,
yeah, right.
yes,
I remember those.
we totally knew, yes.
I wish. Oh, it'd be funny. Hold on. Do I still have it? I think I deleted it. I had this little pop-up note. Um, I deleted it.
Oh,
Oh,
is the note to yourself like, don't
I
talk
should.
about the
Oh,
campaign?
I wish I didn't delete it. It would have been great to pop up on the screen right now. Yeah, so it literally said, "Do not mention anything about the campaign," or it was very explicit. And we needed that. It was so much. And now we can. well, we say whatever we want now.
Yeah.
Um, cat's out of the bag, but it was really exciting. It was one of those things that uh, I don't know. I don't think I've ever been this excited for uh, that the election process at the conference since, any time really. And not nothing against all those who ran before, but I think our cohort, Evelyn is a friend, but also someone we became friends with because of our involvement in the Young Architects Forum, as we talked about on the episode, and even with Ben Kasdan on his episode, um, and and to kind of just be even like on the edge of the the nerves. I mean, just being around at the conference, bumping into Evelyn and Janine, who was, her. I don't know, just keeping everything on the tracks, like all going along, and then the moment you found out, like, she won, and like the sort of collective sigh of relief that that everybody sort of, it started to permeate, the energy throughout the conference center and all that stuff. But so I'm excited. I'm glad.
Yeah,
And
and at
so
this point, I'm going to definitely, like, we don't do this a lot, but it's like we do have some podcast, friends, and some of which we got to meet at the conference, and we sort of direct folks over to those from time to time, um, um, but practice disrupted. Janine like interviews Evelyn, and
yeah,
in their most recent episode, and it is absolutely worth listening to.
yeah,
Not to give it all away, but I think it's, for those, at least in the architecture community, folks know that Evelyn ran the year before, and was unsuccessful, um, and that, she talks about that and is very kind of open about kind of what that felt like, and kind of decisions about why she wanted to kind of move forward again, and what that took, from all of her sort of team and friends, and her cohort, for sure, to help her get to where she is now, and and herself, kind of getting herself to where she is now, kind of in thinking about kind of pursuing that. So it's a great conversation. It's a great conversation about sort of, you know um, challenging yourself, I guess, and
right,
in deciding that you really do want it. And I think, she's, once she decided she really wanted it, and leaned into all that, I think it's just, we're just excited. So, and like you said, there was, absolute nerves, and kind of being there for that, and seeing some of those moments was really, really pretty special.
yeah, yeah. I recently also listened to that episode, and it's a much better summation than I could give about the ups and downs and the highs and lows, and the extended process that she's been through.
Oh yeah.
And so it's a lot of fun to, if you're interested, I mean, I definitely, like as Jamie said, go check that out.
Well, and also for the AIA architects and members who are like, how does this election thing work? Like, they actually, like, it's probably one of the most succinct, and there's some giggles in there too, or at least there was giggles on my part, of listening to them try and describe the bizarre electoral college that is the AIA. So, with that being said, yeah, we can talk about some other things, but congratulations, Evelyn. This is, our congrats again to you. This was, definitely, an exciting thing to see.
Yeah, thanks for letting us be in the same space while this is all going down. It's very exciting. So yes, cheers to Evelyn. We'll have to, well, she's gonna get a mug and not a batch of coffee
Yeah, we have to
from
figure out.
from us.
It was going to be a batch of coffee, but we'll have to figure out what that is. So yeah.
Yeah. So luckily, there's other things that other gifts, opportunities, and concepts. So here, let me share our sketches real quick. And we've done. I mean, the big news is that, and there's definitely more about the conference that we will be talking about. It's going to kind of drag out for a couple. I mean, not drag out in a bad way, but span across a few episodes because we had a really exciting interview. So maybe this is just a quick warm up or pre preemptive sort of um, heads up, I guess, to audience members. We sat down with the folks at SketchUp, the software company that I would imagine very many people are familiar with. I know Jamie and I are both. Uh, we were counting the years, and collectively, it starts to date us pretty quick.
Yeah,
How many
yeah,
years we've been using this software? But um, they've got a lot of. So they invited us to have basically we recorded content with them that's going to come out in probably two episodes. And so we'll let you know when that all happens. And um, I'm tying together some of the editing, and we have to keep some stuff out because they have some cool new stuff that we can't even talk about.
right.
And so
Well,
so
and I'll
we'll
just
save that for another even farther down the road when that does
right.
occur.
Well, and just to sort of kind of tie it to beyond us being sort of users for a long time and sort of fans of the product, is that as Kurt often says, it's the premise of this coffee sketch podcast is looking at old tech and new tech, and the process of it, and sort of keeping the spirit of things. So watch some of the social channels. We're going to tease out a few little clips from conversations with them, and I think that as we get those episodes edited together, it was a really generous of them, and we really enjoyed it. Talked to multiple people that they had brought to the conference, and so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so that's as I was mentioning, I guess that's how I what we're going to talk about in this episode is sort of almost like the tail end of the conference, but then more will kind of come out. And anyway, maybe I don't even need to talk about it too much. But
Well, and I was going to say, if you did have that like celebration button, like this would be the opportunity to use it one more time. Is 5 years ago, like this week, we were in New York,
yeah.
and that's when we came up with the idea for this podcast.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for the reminder. Thanks, Jamie. You yeah, you're always remembering the 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 anecdotal. Yeah, that's right. 5 years ago, New York conference. Sorry, I can't say anything. You kind of caught me off guard because I did spend quite a bit of time uh heaping praise upon you at the conference for in making this whole podcast idea an enjoyable and fun fun excursion that we do together that doesn't feel like work ever. So
No, it's not
five
work.
more years, 5 more years, 5 more years.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, 122 episodes. So, and it's going strong.
Well, and I thought that it was, saying that about kind of going back in time, it's related to these sort of sketches we're going to talk about today too. I think a little bit. The the one on the left. So June is Pride Month, and so when we were out in San Francisco, there were some sites that I was sort of excited to go see. Especially one in particular where I'd done a design competition. And so the sketch on the left is actually from 5, 6, almost 6 years ago. and then the one on the right was and this is a trigger word for Kurt now. This is was from the airport on my way out of San Francisco. The Harvey Milk terminal, I think terminal 1 or 2 at SFO. So
Don't ask me about which terminal. It was not the one that I flew out of,
no,
but I did eventually get to fly out of.
yeah,
I had a
I
lot of
think
flight fun trouble.
Gensler did the architectural interiors for the terminal, and it was a great space, and named for Harvey Milk, um, who is synonymous with San Francisco and for a variety of different reasons, but they definitely had a wonderful sort of homage to him and sort of memorial wall um, for all those who were coming in and out of that terminal. And so I had a little bit of time before my flight and was able to do kind of a literal quick coffee sketch in situ, which was great.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I wish I had flown out of that terminal. I know when we drove past it. I mean, it's a uh, very minimal facade, and it was very definitely something I wish I had been able to. Airports are something that you the kind of architecture that you don't get to experience until you have to use that space. And sometimes for us, maybe, I don't know, maybe other fans of architecture too. It's like if you don't have to use that airport terminal, it's almost like dangling the carrot, and you can't that you can't reach, because it's like, oh, it's just right there, but I have nothing to do with that building because I'm not on that airplane. So I saw the facade as we drove past, and then that was the extent of my experience. So your sketch kind of nice, um, a nice uh, callback, I guess, or education for me on what the interior was like, which the uh, the line work, which is I did notice that you pulled out the sign pen during the conference a few times, aside from the pilot pen, to get a little bit heavier weight on the line. So it was nice to see that this sketch does also have some of that, heavier weight line, a thick, a heavier, thicker, wider, you know, all the descriptions of what that kind of pen can do, compared to the sort of thin and lightness that the the your pilot pen kind of common tool of more common tool of the pilot pen, but
Well, and with that sketch too, it was it's a very bright space, sort of what you were talking about, sort of the minimalist of the architecture. It's a very bright. Um, I mean, just really inviting. I mean, it's just it's a calm kind of space. I mean, for you know terminals, I'm thinking of like railroad terminals and things that are sort of classic architecture kind of spaces, the hustle and bustle of industry and people moving through a space. And there's certainly that with this terminal, but I really kind of appreciated kind of some of the aesthetics of the space. It's definitely got the idea of movement and travel and all that kind of stuff. And you see those, tried to capture a spot where I could sit and sketch a little bit more comfortably, and uh, kind of enjoy the space a little bit. I definitely had a little bit of time to, between my flight. So the perspective lines, kind of a 1 point perspective, kind of kind of skewing that 1 point off to the side just a little bit. But yeah, it was I really enjoyed the space a lot, and definitely wanted to capture it. And then also because, it was named, for who it was named for. And in honor of him, I really felt like it was important to kind of capture that as part of a memory for myself of the trip, and kind of hearkening to the work that I had done, just in really kind of a design exploration for a site. You know, architects do competitions for a variety of different reasons, and you definitely don't always do them to win them. And it's sometimes getting yourself out of that comfort zone to think about a project differently, or to bring a project that that you would aspire to doing into the realm of possibility. There's a reality to it, and that Harvey Milk Plaza was certainly one that I was excited to do, and glad that I did, and then glad that I got to visit it, um, and kind of learn a little bit from Tyler about kind of what the history of its post competition life has been. I've been read a couple news reports, but it was nice to kind of be in that space and kind of hear a little bit more about it.
Yeah, we talked about that competition entry, the Harvey Milk Plaza. I don't remember the episode number, but it was a little while back, and yeah, it was a good conversation on the concept of competitions, like you said. And sometimes I would say if the mindset is not worrying about winning, then it becomes then about the exploration of an idea, of ideas, and things that still have constraints, right? Because the competition requirements are the constraints that you have to design to, rather than say a brainstorming session or something like that in an with staff or clients or um, friends, and so the constraints. I think constraints are still useful for us to be able to force, or force maybe not the best word, but um, encourage a solution that might not be there without those constraints.
Right.
Is how I kind of approach an interest in competitions, right? Like the, I've definitely been lately sending you over like different competitions that there's quite a few. I'm surprised how many competition prospects are out there right now. And as busy as everyone is in this industry, that's why I'm surprised. But there's there's something that you and I have been kicking around, trying to maybe go after and use that as a encouragement to kind of challenge our own design uh, capabilities and push them a little bit farther into a new realm, and also kind of extend our own collaboration like this podcast. And
Well,
um,
and along those lines too is it's both of us have what you described as an interest, but at the same time as a subject matter, I think both of us really like public spaces, and we like that sort of engagement of it's not the political realm, it's just sort of the public realm and sort of the dialogue that those spaces in between kind of sometimes create, um, and and along those lines, I think this particular competition was a lot about that. It's a very kind of busy, kind of multimodal intersection, corner site in San Francisco, and um, there are some small monuments and memorialization of Harvey Milk there, talking about hope, and change and things like that. But there was an effort to kind of see that site, that public realm, um, as a location to kind of memorialize him and sort of the amazing speeches that he would give, as kind of a gay activist and political leader. I mean, he was the first openly gay politician to be elected in California, and I think as part of that, he saw himself as a or he saw himself in at least in a role where he could kind of advocate for others to kind of it's that kind of baton kind of idea, of those that come after you. Can you jam your foot in the door and
Mm-hmm.
hold it open for them. You made it through, and instead of kind of slamming it shut or forgetting about holding it open, it's can you leave it open for others? And so this space is kind of intended to be a bit about that, while still functioning. I mean, there's a kind of a tram line that's below grade, and there's sidewalks that kind of crisscross it, and then there's another tram across the street, and streetcar kind of tram. So yeah, there's a variety of different things kind of going on all in this space that's not terribly big. And then there's residents. I mean, there's people living kind of right adjacent to this block. So um, it was a nice design challenge, and I think those are the types of projects, art wise and public realm wise, and sort of the intersection of those two things, that I think will probably be, finding a way for this podcast to kind of, um, elaborate towards.
Yeah, I you're right on. I do think we are. I like I do like public spaces, which probably was why San Francisco was a fun host city, and our desire to get outside. It's not just our desire. Many architects were itching to get out of buildings and out there into the public realm. But the yeah, so I think there's an interesting segue or a tie-in that you made with the jamming the foot in the door and holding it open is what the final keynote, Jacinda Ardern, right, the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, said the same thing about creating a sense of equity, uh, and inclusion for more voices. So yeah, is it? I think on that note we can call it a wrap.
Yeah, this was great. This is the beginning of a multi-episode recap. So thanks, Kurt.
Hey Jamie,
How's it going?
how's it going? Do you feel one episode older now?
I do. Do you feel an episode older?
I am. We are now 123, 123, and I'm looking down. You can't can't see my
Oh
little
yeah,
girl.
somebody's giving you some hints.
Yeah, she says this episode better not be as long as you say it's gonna be. Oh, she left, so I'm off the hook. I think Danielle's on it. So, um, how you doing? We're trying to do a little as much as much as we can cram 4 or 5 days of a conference into a couple of episodes. And
Yeah,
so here we are. We're gonna talk a little bit more about the AI conference that we were just at. So so how you doing? It's still
good.
sweltering.
So are we in the green room right now, or are we in the episode?
I
This,
thought
I
we
think,
were plenty warmed up, and so we're in
okay.
in
We're
in what can be the episode
so this is good. This is good. I'm just double checking.
with a little editing magic too.
Editing. Oh, it's the editing magic for the
It's
intros and outros.
it's
Gotcha.
the wand.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So how you doing there in Texas?
It's still a bajillion degrees. It's a bajillion now, not just a
So
million. It's a bajillion.
is your AC keeping up?
Thankfully, yes.
Yeah, I gotta imagine you might have some neighbors that might be, I mean,
Oh, it's
the
it,
stress.
it's it is. I mean, there's I have seen some messages from some friends who were like, Anybody have any power issues? Because I mean, the, the the grid here is still an issue, and
Mhm.
it's not just during the cold. It's also during the heat, and definitely something that I think is on the minds of lots of folks. Um, and it is really kind of unfortunate. I mean, you were asking about rain and things like that, and um, I'm not still not sure why I try and have a garden in Texas, but I enjoy it. So
Do you have a rain barrel?
no, no, I need one.
I
Um,
got a I got a detail for you.
yeah, right.
I got a barrel, which I was probably lamenting last episode how it was all clogged up with whirlybirds and seeds, tree seeds and things like that. But actually, there was a chunk of shingle
That's not good.
off the garage. That's yeah. Hopefully, yeah. Let's not. I don't want to go down that road. Let's
Okay,
move on.
yeah. Other house repairs that you're like, no, don't, please don't remind me.
Yeah, yeah. I'm tired. I'm tired. My arms are tired. um. So what are you drinking these days, sir?
Well, it's the cuvee. We're
Is it iced coffee?
it needs to be warmed up at this point. But I actually read something recently that um, makes a lot of sense, but it's something that I hadn't. I'm not an iced coffee person, by the way. It's like there's probably only one place in Austin that I like. I will get iced coffee. Joe's. Um, Joe's Coffee, also another Austin original. They have a pretty tremendous iced coffee. So, but I did read that if you like, re-warm up your coffee like in a microwave or something like that, it actually changes the flavor profile.
Mm.
Um, I'm not sure if that's internet fact or fiction, but
I
yeah,
think there's something to that.
there's probably something to that. So,
This microwaves, you know. The like it's on the
you're like
electromag
microwaves.
the
Let that
electromagnetic
let that
spectrum.
sink in.
It's electromagnetism. No, I don't do this anymore. You're gonna be mad when I say this, but sometimes I go and let my mother-in-law's dogs out at lunch, and I will pour some of her coffee pot into a cup and nuke it to warm it up and and drink that while I'm waiting for her dogs to do their job outside. And it's not great coffee to begin with, and so then it's even less uh tasty. So now I'm not doing that anymore because I gotta keep up appearances.
Because of electromagnetism, right? It's all about the
Mhm.
electromagnetism.
Yeah, you can't sleep on that. So so anyway, um I am also wrapping up. Well, I have as I mentioned in the last episode, I had a small sort of sample batch of this Burundi roast, so an African blend, or not blend. I should a roast from a
Sourced.
bean, a
Source.
sourced from Africa. That's the word. Um, Black label sample, no notes. So it's very good, and it was a small little sample bag. So now I'm
Do you
sad
see
that
the jealousy on the face here? Yeah.
yeah I get to brag about it for 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So so while we were in San Francisco, we we had to we got to wear our t-shirts. Oh, we have a chat. Excuse me. Well, thank you. So far, we're extremely educational.
Yes.
So thank you.
It's all about the electromagnetism and coffee. So we're helping folks out.
It's science. It's becoming a science podcast. The
Right.
Here, well, let me throw we gotta say, if you want a T-shirt, a mug, or your very own bag of Coffee Sketch Podcast coffee, we have that up on the website there. And like I mentioned last episode, I promise I won't be dangling this in front of Jamie too long. I got to send some to Jamie so that we can both roast some on the next episode, so that we can experience the Coffee Sketch Podcast coffee together, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So let me jump in
So this is
with
the second of the recap episodes that we sort of
mhm.
highlighted last time, and we're going to dive into a little bit more from the conference on architecture in San Francisco that we just got back from, and a little bit of a focus on sketching because that's why we're here.
It's part of the title, right?
Yeah.
So the well the sketches we have here is actually super fun. It's really only going to capture like one day of the conference, but it's the very last day of the conference, the Saturday of the AIA conference on architecture, and Jamie and I joined. I mean, the Coffee Sketch podcast hosts can't not join a walking sketching tour of San Francisco, and so there was a session where we joined a big group. It was quite a big group of people. I would say at least 50,
Oh yeah, easily,
maybe
easily. Yeah.
more, that were interested in looking taking a little walk around San Francisco and then doing a little sketching and getting to sort of challenge ourselves with some 15-minute sketches. And so on top here you'll see Jamie's drawings, and on the bottom row, which you rarely see, are Kurt's drawings. And it's only because Kurt is not as prolific as Jamie, but we have so in each frame or pair of sketches from top and bottom are from the same station in the sketching tour. Uh, well, except for the last one. The last one, the sketch is from that last spot, and then the top image is actually the final throwdown of the sketchbooks. So everybody threw down their sketchbooks, and we kind of talked about bits and pieces of people's sketches. It was a lot of the first time I've ever done anything like that, so it was a lot of fun. Um, and so anyway, so even though we were standing at the same spot for all of our sketches, everyone kind of sketched something a little bit different and took, used their own eye and their own interpretation of how much space to capture in the sketch. Um, Even under the direction of kind of sketching the same object, which I thought was kind of interesting. We still didn't wind up with 50 of the same sketches. There was some nuance and some differentiation between uh, individuals, and so and also I stole a little color from the host of the tour and kind of uh, smudged some color onto one of my sketches, which was something I hadn't done in years. So eh, I don't know. I mean, I'm doing a very the briefest synopsis of kind of how to capture this whole session, but it was about a 2.5 hour, I think,
Yeah.
session
Yeah. No,
on
I mean,
Saturday morning.
yeah, and I think that that's the whole thing is that um, even for folks who are sketching a lot, it's those moments when you get into those sessions that are, a 2 hour tour or sketch session. You kind of walk away from it being, a little bit. um, a little bit tired, because you're kind of, there's the only thing that I wish we had been able to do was have a little bit of kind of a warm up session. And I think I remarked about that on that first, that, sort of joking about it a little bit, in that first pair of sketches at the far left. And it was, kind of, it's difficult to go from, 0 to 60, in sketching world, um, right off the cuff. But it was great. I think by the end, definitely felt warmed up, and then it was like, oh, is it over? You're
Yeah.
tired, but at the same time you're exhilarated. And then I think just the energy of just, that many fellow architects, and, you know, fans of sketching kind of all in one spot, that energy is pretty infectious.
Yeah. Well, that first spot was quite chilly.
Yeah, it
So
was.
you talk
There
about a
was.
warm up.
Yeah,
We I was looking for some hot coffee. We didn't have enough time. But yeah, it was quite breezy and windy and cloudy. So luckily it warmed up a bit by the time we got to the end, and also our sketching warmed up too. But yeah,
right.
I would agree. The it definitely evolved, and although I think too though that so there's like 4 stations that we went to, and so 4 hosts at so one at each station, and the energy of the host really kind of helps sort of set the tone for it. So at the second station, there was no waiting around or listening, or how to the his name was Lynn. He's a professor at Clemson, I believe, in the architecture department, and he's just like, okay, you're gonna do this, then you're gonna do this, and then you're gonna, and then keep going, and then there's that line, you draw that line, and it was
Yeah, he was.
okay.
Yeah, there was no arguing with Lynn, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I mean, I think it was just he was there, to, like, he knew he had only a little bit of time, and he was super excited and passionate, to help everybody kind of get started and get moving, and thinking about that space. And I think, part of his, honestly, his might have been one of the more difficult spaces to kind of try and capture too, without thinking it through. And I think that's, as you were sort of describing it, is certainly something that, it was really apparent when you got there. It was a forced 1 point perspective. And for those who think of San Francisco and sort of winding streets and the terrain, um, this was one where you had the end of the trolley line and the turntable carousel. And so we were there. It's not like this is a controlled environment or something like that. There's pedestrians kind of moving around and kind of taking photos, and, because it's one of those kinds of sites. And it then you have this sort of street line trees and then kind of narrow space, and then multitude of the, as you sort of see there in the sketch, was, how do you start to create these other intersections that you're sort of seeing in the distance. And there on Kurtz, I think he picks up kind of that darkened line and sort of almost like strata as you're kind of moving up the page, along that
Hmm.
sort of forced perspective. Um,
Yeah. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Are you still there? Where'd you
yeah,
go?
I'm here. Yeah,
Okay.
no, no, I'm listening. So
Well, it's kind of fun to compare the two. You captured the carousel element that turns the trolleys around a lot better than mine kind of represents.
well, it
Um,
was funny because, as Lynn was sort of describing, like, how to set up the perspective, I'm listening to him, and I'm trying to kind of, learn and follow his, because you do learn from, mimicking or watching other people sketch. Um, even if I don't feel like don't seem like I'm paying attention, I'm paying attention, kind of thing. But um, but the other part of it though was there was this couple that had just conveniently parked themselves right in front of us, right in front of that turntable oval, and I was like, I have to get these two people while before they move, because they were going to help me sort of set up the scale for this sketch, and you could hear them like debating where they were going next, almost like you could imagine what they were saying to one another, but at the same time, I think they also heard Lynn talking about like
Them.
them.
Yeah, I know. Lynn was like, "Okay, see this man, see this woman. You got to put them right there."
Yeah,
That was a lot of fun. The Yeah, you got them. You got them in there. Yeah, they kind of they went this way, and they went that way, and they went yeah, and then they
yeah,
finally left. I think
yeah.
once they heard Lynn talking about them, they kind of like, all right, we got to get out of here. And
Well, and
they're in like 50 people's sketch right
right,
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're immortalized in a bunch of sketchbooks, and they you know people were. Are you architects? Yeah, yes. I think that was my Texas accent, but I threw that in there. I'm not sure.
You know, the one thing I notice, especially that because that one was probably the most focused vantage point, is your trees, the asymmetry that you put in the pair of trees, so on each side of the street. I think, well, A is probably more accurate to the reality, but B adds a little more dynamic movement in the sketch. Whereas out of I think just sheer automated habit, I kind of like framed mine very symmetrical or proportional on each side, which really slows down. It really kind of makes the my sketch more static, I feel, and less dynamic. Even though it's a 1 point up the hill, I think I kind of lose a little bit of the 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 movement, I guess, from depth, right? From foreground to background, things like that.
Well, and I think the only thing in your sketch that might have, if you had maybe had another 5 minutes, not a lot, is if I don't think what you're describing would be as, and I don't think it's as apparent as you're saying it is, but maybe as apparent to you is that extra 5 minutes would give you a chance to kind of start to um, get the storefronts in that upper foreground. Um, I just managed to at the end I was just getting to that spot, and getting a little bit of that entourage in that immediate foreground of the picture, which I think ultimately helps that sort of sense of streets kind of cascading away in the distance that I think yours does way better than mine. Um, and I think you kind of spent a lot of energy on that, more so than myself. So it's and that's the thing is you these are moments, memories, but we definitely have recorded that space that we're going to remember it. And I think that was that's the other part of it too.
Yeah, yeah. It's I mean that was kind of what Lynn's whole thing was is the documentation and the fact that you've drawn it now. It sort of burns into your memory a little bit stronger, and
And
I will remember it too in that way.
and I will say something that I just noticed as you're zooming up on your sketch, that as much as you were more faithful to Lynn's instructions than I was, admittedly, I do not see where you signed that sketch.
Oh,
No,
it's it's right there.
oh,
It
okay.
got
Is
cut
is
off.
it okay? Okay, because
See, I signed the other one.
I loved his reminder about that because it's something that I have a terrible habit of not doing. Um,
Hmm.
is signing them, dating them, writing the location, um, especially when it's sort of in situ like that. I have to rely on the memory banks, more than making a scribbled note to myself.
Yeah, actually, I appreciate that uh, reminder too that he mentioned. It seemed like a no-brainer, but yet uh, it was it makes way more sense now that we've left that space, right? Now, I wouldn't be able to necessarily remember it if I didn't write it down. So it's kind of like, oh yeah,
Right.
duh.
And since we are live, one of the comments is about having the same pocket sketchbook, and it's like,
Oh,
yeah, I think that that's the whole thing, right? Is it's about the nimbleness of it. And so, in this particular case, because we were going out and it was super cold, or it was cold. It was colder. I mean, it wasn't super cold, but um, I like the challenge of a small sketchbook. Um, but at the same time, it's like, and I'll carry multiple sketchbooks, especially on trips like this. But that one ends up being the one that you can slip in the pocket and be really pretty discreet, kind of moving around the city. You don't have to like scream, "Hey, I'm an architect," other than that you're wearing black.
only when you get to this part
Yeah,
when I was like, oh yes, hey, we're all architects here.
right. I mean, and look at the real estate on some of those sketchbooks. It's like um,
Yeah.
that in and of itself sometimes can be intimidating. That big blank page.
Oh, true. Yeah, that's true. I like them to be a little bit smaller. This one's mine over here. Yeah, over here. And then I don't know where Jamie's is. Somewhere over here. S- Buried.
I
Oh,
think
it's
I'm down
right
at the
here.
bottom. That's it, down at the bottom right there. Yeah,
Here. Yeah, you could tell because it's on an angle.
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
As our friend and fellow Ed Vance says, which he said, and we bumped into him on the sidewalk, and he said, it's his sketches have a literal and figurative twist. And Jamie likes to rotate his sketchbooks. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's it.
So
This our
that
so, so
coffee sketch, coffee table book coming soon. So
yeah, we you couldn't get a much more positive what's the word, testimonial from Ed, from when he said that, yeah, you should turn this into a book.
right. Yeah, it was very. I mean, he was very adamant, and it was like just. And it wasn't during this sketch tour. It was just sort of lunch. We kind of bumped into him in a different part of the city, and yeah, it was that was um, very well appreciated. I will say so.
Yeah, it's it's nice to I'm sure, he's solely speaking to Jamie here, but I'm only absorbing like a piece of the credit just for the sake of the podcast. But it is exciting. I'm sure it feels good to have someone like Ed, who's had such a career in architecture and involvement in AI, and get a little tap on the shoulder for for doing what you're doing. So yeah, that there was a um, this tour, this little segment, this walking sketching thing was just one aspect of a very exciting week that we had. We've kind of discussed in the what is going to be the last episode, um, a little bit of what's going to come out from the conference, but that we're planning on uploading to the podcast for the conference. But the other aspects that I think we wanted to talk about just a little bit more of the other days was grabbing some. Oh, you know what? That's right. This is our reminder, which I forgot to start with this. But here's us. So this is got it's going to be the shout out back to Ben Kasdan, who was on a few episodes ago, who said you got to check out Blue Bottle Coffee, and there is a Blue Bottle right around the corner from convention center. And so this is Jamie and I doing the coffee, taking the photo,
This
the
is like
selfie.
the album drop photo. Yeah.
Yeah, I might be having too much of a smile on my face. Jamie's got the perfect amount of smile for an album cover, but yeah, maybe I was getting excited because this was just ahead of our interview with the folks at SketchUp on the expo floor, and so we decided to. Well, anyway, enough about the T-shirts because I was going to say another thing about the T-shirt, but
Kurt really does like the t-shirts, and
I'm proud of that. You know,
I can say that they did turn out pretty sweet. So
yeah,
I'm excited as well.
it's a it's a nice
One thing
cotton.
one thing before we jump to anything else, I did want to ask. Um, this is sort of me flipping the script on the sketching part. Is so what do you think the hardest part for you was in sort of that sort of exercise, or
Hmm.
and maybe conversely, like what was the has it got you started sketching more and more?
Hmm.
Because I hear that, and we heard that from a lot of the folks that we got to meet, that were on the tour with us.
Right. Let's see. Well, the hardest part was probably the beginning. It was a little cold, and I struggle with, and people may laugh at me now, but I struggle with the details, like fine details. I like to do stuff more like this, like the street perspective we spent time talking about. Very gestural sketches, loose and loose, and very abstract. And I tried to challenge myself to do a little bit of detail in this street scene where there was this sort of a monument in the middle of the street, and then uh, this building that had a billion windows in it, uh, and a lot of brick and stone detail that I kind of failed to capture. We were running out of time. I spent so much time trying to profile this detail thing. So anyway, that I guess would say kind of my struggle. Although I don't know, for me, I enjoy the abstract stuff, but I could see that I could imagine, and I've heard this before, is that people probably don't look at they can't read my sketches with too much uh like the understanding of what is the subject matter, right? I mean, in this case, with a little color, I think it helps. But so then it kind of becomes something a little bit more like only that I can see and that
Right.
others aren't looking for or know what to look for. And I don't know if that's a problem or not, but
Well, I
um
think it goes back to our discussions about process. I mean, one of the listeners is talking about sort of
yeah.
kind of getting lost in the details a little bit. And I think that that's the whole thing is there isn't just one way to sketch. And I think that, but the challenge, and this is the challenge that I do to myself, and when I've taught, or more, you less formally, but when I've led a sketch tour, and I've done that at some Texas conventions, one of the things I try and encourage even people who've been sketching quite a bit, and are extremely talented, is to try something a little different, or to try it from a slightly different point of view for themselves. In that moment, it might not work out really well, but it's enough of a tidbit of a different approach to a sketch that I think that some of them kind of appreciate it after the fact. And I think your sketch that you said, at the challenging building, our first site, if you look at sort of, and just if you cropped in on that kind of monument fountain kind of piece, you completely captured it. I mean, you completely captured it. And then if you look at the door behind it, that sort of portal in stone, you've got those two things working in scale and perspective exactly right, right? So I think it's just when you sort of jump out to the rest of that kind of blank piece of paper and try and capture all the other elements, that's where it starts to become a bit challenging, right? And so because I think for me it's like the process is a little different. um, what I've just found with myself now is that um, you know it's there's about 10 to 15 seconds at the beginning of a sketch before you put that first mark on the page, where you have to say, okay, how big is my canvas? What am I looking at?
Mm-hmm.
What do I want to capture in this particular sketch? No one's giving me the assignment other than we talked about our assignment at the turntable. But I think that those are the things to kind of ask yourself, kind of quietly, and there isn't necessarily a right answer either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, thanks. That's a good question. I didn't think about that stuff as much, or haven't been, but I do. Yeah, I'm sketching a little bit more. They're they're probably more on the vein of thumbnails at the moment because I am working on a house that's been stumping me. But actually, other things that I do sketch, which I kind of used to think are just random doodles, and this might be me taking advantage of uh, a recent trip to the Flint Institute of Arts, but they have a surrealism exhibit up right now, and they it or re-educated me on a term that I hadn't heard in a long time called automation or automatic drawing
Right.
from the surrealist uh, uh, group of artists that were kind of created surrealist and Dadaist and the era that surrounds that sort of abstract painting and drawing. And I often find myself kind of doing these sort of I guess I'm trying to call them automatic drawings because
Hmm.
there's really no intention of what they are supposed to be, and just to see where the pen kind of moves around the page, and then can it evolve or morph into something sometimes. And sometimes it's one of those things try and decide like when to stop too.
Well, right, and I think as you sort of described that, not necessarily having seen them, there's an element of that exercise when you've asked me before about sort of the Lebbeus Woods influence that sort of creeps into some of my sketches when I'm dealing
Hmm.
with, um, oftentimes it's backgrounds. It's sort of things that are kind of going on in the background of a sketch, or when I'm sort of flipping from perspective to plan and section and things like that. There's an element of kind of automatic drawing um, to those where I think for me, it's less automatic drawing and it's more exploration of an idea and kind of letting it flow. I mean, like kind of when you're in that zone,
Hmm.
um, there's a bit of a unconscious drawing to some of that. Um, I wouldn't say I ever kind of get fully over to the automatic drawing, but I like it. I know what you're describing. It's very interesting to me.
I'll try and post some, and then we can maybe circle back on that into a future episode. And
Yeah,
I'll share some images too from the museum, because there are some really fantastic pieces in the exhibit of yeah, surrealist work, even from just sketches to finished paintings and things, a variety of different media. So So yeah, so I think we could go on forever
It was quite a conference. Yes.
because we were so excited about the well, we've had such a good time. There's still more that we'll unpack in the next couple. I'm sure little bits here and there, but it definitely was kind of like the icing on the cake to have this tour, this walking tour on the last morning, the Saturday morning. And then from there, we went on and ate fantastic lunch at the waterfront, walked around some more, looked at buildings, talked about buildings with your friend Tyler, and then went to dinner. Which, when you do all kinds of, I was, as a side note, I used my phone, counted the steps, and I, over the course of the whole conference, I tallied like 37 miles of
Yeah.
walk, which is is it's like a
Is that
bad
like a marathon?
26 point. Well, it's more than a marathon.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a very fast marathon,
Right.
but well, I guess that's the point of a marathon. But yeah, you don't you don't run them very quickly. Well, I don't run them at all. So,
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, 37 miles, kind of hoofing it around town. Sometimes fast, mostly slow.
And a little sketching and some coffee in between. So
That's right. So, I'll let you have the last word, Jamie.
I'll just say thanks. That was a lot of fun.
Oop, Carl's gone. Well, we're not live.
Are we live? It still says live.
It does? Oh, it
Yeah.
does. Carl's still there. I hit the wrong. I clicked the wrong button. Well, anyway, so that's Carl, Creative Things. He's a Discord friend joining us. So, what are you doing, Jamie? You look a little shell shocked.
Oh, well, I thought we were done.
Oh, yeah, we are done.
Okay.
Anyway, so just say thanks.
Yeah. No,
This is
thanks.
the
It was good.
this
Yeah,
is
it was
the
good.
after show goodbye.
Yeah, the after show goodbye. Yeah, it's like like suddenly the cat like played with the curtains, and so that's why it suddenly got dark in here. So
Ah,
I think everybody is like ready for snacks or something like that. So
yeah,
they're all the animals are moving around and bugging
itching.
me. So it's
All right.
time.
Well, I'll hit the end button. All right.